Hello and welcome to Campaign Comrades, your favorite life gaming podcast. We are coming to you just about a week after we made our journey to Boston, and boy, was it a trek. It was,
Oh, it
Forsaken
was.
city, forsaken state. Remove it.
Truly.
I'm saying just dice it up between Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, and Vermont. Just like dice the state
No.
into quadrants.
Well, we just need to take over Rhode Island as well.
Mhm.
That's a
Well, that's part two of the
it
plan.
doesn't
Is that
it's
once
not
it's
a
cut into
state.
quadrants, Connecticut does some radical expansion and just takes the Rhode Island portion.
Hell yeah. I mean, Rhode Island is like Massachusetts light anyways. So
Yeah,
it really it
is.
is.
It's a weird crossing ground between
Yeah.
Massachusetts and Connecticut culture.
with
That's right. I said
significant.
Connecticut culture. You have to think about what that means.
Yeah.
But also, you can't forget the Jersey culture because
Well, yeah, that's part of Connecticut culture.
Rhode Island is mobbed up.
There is a weird Northeast beach culture there as well,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
New Jersey. But yeah, we soldiered on as we made through our way through that cursed city to go
Put our
With
lives
the
in the hands
cursed
of way too many
people.
Uber drivers. Way too many Uber drivers were in possession of our lives at points in time in inclement weather.
Yeah, they are, they're New York City level driving, but on Boston city streets is like not a combination that meshes well, right?
I take
we're
that as
crossing
slander
5
because
lanes.
New York
we're done.
No,
driving is
they
not
drive
like
they
that.
drive exactly like every
No.
New York City cabbie. They're
The problem
riding
is when
people's
you're in New
asses.
York,
They're
because
riding the
everyone is
horn.
driving the same.
Yeah,
It
no,
all
it's
works.
exactly. It's like that's my point. Is that like
Okay.
it's not as dangerous in New York City because the layout is actually makes sense. It's there's actual logic and reason behind it. The grid system works.
Boston is like, you just
Yeah.
came on this right lane and need to exit 5 lanes across now.
Yeah, you got to do 10 lane shifts like in 30 seconds or less, and there's
Use the left lane to slight left. Oh no, not the left lane, the third lane.
Some mass state trooper is putting his lights on just to get through this intersection and all sorts of nonsense going on. But yeah,
I knew it was gonna be a bad Boston trip when I was on the plane that was a 35-minute flight, and all 35 minutes there was 3 Boston native women, the only people talking on the plane, just
the
drunk,
most sensual
flip-flops
accent in the
on.
world.
Yeah. I was just bricked up the whole time.
Yeah, we suffered through the trenches to get to PAX East so we could sample its fares and wares and bring it all back to you fine listeners. I don't really have a huge plan for what's how we want to tackle this, because Andrew wasn't there on Thursday, but he came up he was there Friday, and the rest of us were there all 4 days. So we saw a handful of panels, did countless tours of the show floor. Spent way too much money, which actually I forgot. Remind me after we log off, I got to check my bank statement again to see if the hotel charge has reappeared or not.
It's just gone forever.
I mean, one can only hope.
Did it go away?
I mean, remember I texted you guys, it was like it had been pending for so long, and then I went back and checked, and that like $50 incidental charge was still there pending, but the actual room charge had just disappeared.
Based.
I figured it's probably that it was pending. They
adjust the amount,
undid it so they could adjust it for either that $50 thing and or for the parking. Parking. That was my guess, but I have not checked since.
Free hotel.
So let's just we'll set the stage for our listeners of this layout of the scene of PAX East, where we walked in with the herd through through some like electromagnetic scanners
Yeah,
that
got my-
New
You
got
York.
my
didn't get
balls-
called
got my
out day
balls,
one,
man.
right? You got through day one. It was day
I got
2
through
and
day
3 and
one.
4 that you got.
No, he
fucking
didn't get
searched?
buzzed.
No,
he didn't get
I only-
buzzed on day 4. I know. Yeah, day 2.
I only got one time.
It was so weird about you getting buzzed day 2 is like, as far as I know, you didn't change anything with what you had brought
Yeah.
on day 2, so it was just
No, I think I was just too close to someone else, and it
they
buzzed.
misread who to buzz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But fun fact, New York City wants to install those in the subways. So,
Sure, that will help.
Yeah.
That will help
Yep, that's
congestion
gonna help.
and traffic. Yeah.
Yeah. So you walk through those. We picked up our free lanyards, Final Fantasy 14.
14.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dawn
Dawn
Trail
Trail.
expansion.
Yeah.
Yep. The new expansion. We go down the escalators to the beautiful.
Well, first you have to
poorly
remember that we pulled off to the
designed-
side to peel off our outer layers after being, battling through like 50-mile-per-hour fucking gusts.
Wind gusts. Yeah. It was
Yeah.
nuts. It was crazy.
You have to set the full scene for what Thursday was truly like, because it was a fucking monsoon wind-wise.
It's true.
Yeah, it was
Felt
on
like
the
we were in,
it was on the colder side,
Chicago.
and it was just the wind was
Yeah.
insane. Worse at the hotel than it was at the seaport for some reason.
Yeah.
We had a great Uber driver that day, Alan.
Yeah. Shout out to Alan. Alan
Shout
cared
out to
about our
Alan.
lives
And
and his own.
He did.
aspiring game dev, Alan.
Yeah.
We love to see it. So
In
we had
his
a nice
Tesla,
we had a nice
Matt's
chat.
first Tesla experience.
Yeah, we had a nice chat with him.
I was very much judging the car from the front seat without making any faces because I didn't want to insult Alan.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
I was looking at the trim on the door and the front and how they didn't line up like level wise when the door closed. It's just
So
like the
that's a
little
feature,
things.
not a bug.
Yeah.
It's called asymmetry. Look it up. It's supposed to
Picasso
draw.
was
It's supposed
famous
to
for
draw
it.
the eye.
Back to being at PAX East. We go down the escalator to the poorly laid out Boston Convention Center that only has escalators on one side to get to the top levels.
The other side has escalators too. They're just on the inside or like on the outside layer. You have to go through a gate system.
Yeah. It was poor design.
It is weird.
I just want
it is an
yeah.
odd.
It's
they were odd
it's an
design choices.
asymmetrical design and doesn't make sense from a like layout standpoint.
Yeah, it's to increase.
But it makes
flow
sense
and
from a
everything,
Boston.
It should be perfectly symmetrical.
A
It-
Boston infrastructure.
Keep things flowing with
Perspective, it makes
high,
sense.
with
Yeah.
high body.
We
body counts
immediately
there,
made
yeah.
sure to go against the grain of the flow of traffic.
It's the way. It is the way to do it.
it
Like
is
when
the
you're
way.
when you're on the show
You go
floor.
left.
Yeah, you don't
Is
everyone
follow
right?
the crowds.
It did not smell very bad.
No, I
the
was
first
surprised.
day.
I smelled
Well, yeah,
some
because
people.
it didn't set in on the first day. At least it hadn't people probably took showers.
Well, I mean, the first day you have
go
to
there.
also remember the first day is Thursday, so it's like a work day for a lot of people. So you're not going to get
but the people
kids.
that aren't showering are aren't
they're going to
working.
be out still. But I'm just saying you're not going to have like the kid stick on top of it, where you're going to have like I have marshmallows on my hands and I'm touching everything. It's like, where did this kid get marshmallows and how did he get so many of them?
The major smell though is like the funnel cake stand halfway down.
The funnel cake stand, and I was going to say the styrofoam from cosplays.
Oh yeah.
Pungent.
Not many the first day, but it ramped
they
up.
increased it drastically in scale Friday and Saturday. So many Tifas, too many Tifas. Be more creative, people.
The first thing though that catches your eye when you come in has got to be the Kadia booth, folks. Have you heard about Kadia? Have you heard about the marvels of Kadia City?
Kadia.
Honestly, couldn't tell you what the fuck is going on.
They're making
going
a
on
Dragon
there.
Ball Z theme park, so
Yeah, dude.
pretty based.
Yeah, Saudi Arabia is making a gaming city apparently, and there was an upsetting amount of people in the line at all times. And the joke that we were always doing is like, oh, they're trying to get you to scan, the QR code, and it's basically, but every person who scans, their name is like added to a petition, which is like saying like, yes, all these people say it's okay that we employ, quote unquote, employ Southeast Asian migrant workers. They're definitely not slaves to building Qiddiya
Definitely
City.
not.
They're definitely
Oh
not.
my
Definitely not.
god.
Their corpses do not line the foundations of Qiddiya City.
I don't remember who I was.
They're
It might
mixed
have
in the
been me and
concrete.
Mike. It might have been me and Andrew. I was walking with one of you two, and we saw someone like take a picture of the booth, and one of their enforcers like came out to look at it.
Gotta make sure you're doing it in the right light.
Wasn't me.
Oh
So
my.
we took a picture in
Wait.
front of Qiddiya and nobody bothered us.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. I did not realize. I thought we were joking about it being the video game Neon, but it actually is.
No, it is.
That's
Yeah,
fucking
that's what it
hilarious.
is. But like, it's completely nebulous as to what exactly that means.
Oh my
It's like a metaverse city, basically, is what I gathered by looking online, and it's
With a theme park.
like what you're doing at the booth, like at that booth, made no sense to me. Like I don't. It was literally just
I had a
data
conspiracy theory
stealing
that
operation.
the queue of people were partially like employee generated. Like you pay someone to like start a line, so people get in line just because they must know.
Yeah, they got undercover line starters.
Mike, you remember how when we worked at Subway, you start the tip jar with a couple singles and a 5?
Yeah.
No, it's simple
So that
psychology.
so people see and they
Yeah.
throw in 2, and then you just pull those singles and 5
Yeah.
out and put them back in the register at the end of the
Social
day.
engineering.
The people are sheep, you know, they will follow where you lead them.
And granted, Qiddiya had good-looking people there.
And it was like, you
another
know,
thing.
it was bright. Like the booth had like, it looked like it had an interesting flow.
It was
to
always in
like,
your sight was the
Yeah.
thing. It was very
Yeah.
tall.
Yeah.
They had a lot of
It was
verticality.
large, but you could always kind of like see into it. It was just
Yeah.
like this sinister, you know, sinisterly well designed.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
it was, you know, constantly drawing the eye, but
Social engineering.
yeah, and
They're
everybody's
gonna have a
just
Six
like,
Flags.
like they're gonna have, as Mike has now said multiple
Dragon Ball
times,
Z.
they're gonna have a Dragon Ball Z Six Flags at Qiddiya City,
Yeah.
which is just like,
No, separate. They're two different things.
Oh, they're having a
Yeah,
Six
there's
Flags
going to be a
as
Dragon
well.
Ball World and a Six Flags.
Yes.
Like literally, like
Yes.
the American
Yes.
company Six
Yes.
Flags.
Six
funny.
Six Flags.
That's even better. I did not know
That's
that.
funny.
That's fantastic.
I'm just
Yeah,
thinking of the old man from the commercials dancing
They
on
make
Saudi
it-
Arabia.
and praying
That-
towards
those-
Mecca.
Yeah.
He's like dancing like crazy, and it's like, oh, it's time to pray. Like gets down, like prays and does his prayer.
Everyone pay for your pilgrimage.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
So that was the, you know, that was
Those
the
5,000 ahead.
that was the biggest you know, visual thing that you were constantly seeing that.
Well, I mean,
That
I
in the
noticed
arena.
right away that the booths that put their most effort into like color and like a way to stand out had more people generally around them.
Mhm.
Like the more you could do to draw people's eye to your booth, it just seemed like raw from looking at crowds. It just looked that it was working that way.
My biggest I agree, like, you know, the like high school craft fair looking booths, you know,
Yeah.
never really had a line unless
And
it
like
was
I
like
I don't
a known game.
don't mean to be mean, but like a lot of those college booths were
Oh yeah.
rough.
Well, that is honestly, it's like, you know, they're kind of, you know, they're shunted to the side. That's like
Yeah.
they probably have like a subsidized deal because they're
Yes.
all
of course.
they're all Massachusetts
Non-profit.
universities.
Yeah.
They're all
Yeah.
no, they're all
Except-
Massachusetts universities, so
wait,
they've got a
with the-
deal.
There's like
with the one
WPI
exception, of High Point University, which
Yeah.
is
In
located in
North
North
Carolina.
Carolina.
Interesting, but no, so I saw like WPI, Clark. There are a couple others.
No, the rest were Massachusetts, but I
But
just
so it's like
found it
there's
interesting.
you know they're definitely like subsidized booths that, like, you know, the colleges aren't paying full price for the booth space, so they get shunted off into they're like little cubicle
Yeah.
type.
Yeah,
of
but I
you
was
could
even
still
talking
do
about
more
some of
than
the
with your
games
little
that are just
cubicle
like
than just like a poster board that looks like you cared about it for
a trifold
10
board.
minutes.
Yeah, it's like, oh crap, mom, I forgot I needed to get a trifold presentation like the day before. Yeah.
It's my biggest
Too real.
Yeah.
the biggest upset was the Mountain Dew and the Dunkin' Donuts booth.
Yeah, dude,
which
the number
were
of people
catchy booths.
The number of people I overheard just being like, "What the
Same.
fuck? There was nothing free at the Dunkin'.
They were
There's
like,
no free samples."
I saw Dunkin' and that like, oh, there's no coffee.
I
Like,
remember
you're in
walking around with
Massachusetts,
Andrew.
you have
Andrew
a
like
Dunkin'
peeled
booth.
off to the Dunkin' booth for a second to like inspect it further and came back disappointed.
I was
Incredibly.
even Mountain Dew.
You can't.
Nothing. They weren't giving out lead.
Like the two
They should
things
have been giving out G Fuel lead.
you can't entice.
Realistically
you can't
speaking, you could have
entice
definitely
mass
stolen
heads.
Mountain Dew out of the ice cream truck's cooler outside.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Sure,
like
but
you can't entice the massholes with Dunkin'. You can't entice gamers with Mountain Dew and not give them a taste. Right? You know, you're gonna have fucking riots on your hands.
A little shot glass of some Dunkin' coffee to get the massholes going.
Something like there was nothing, and I don't know if it was like a post-COVID thing that they couldn't give out like.
Yo, the potato place. The potato place was giving out free samples.
Right. And the potato place was bumping when it came.
Fuck.
Yeah, and the CDC said COVID's over, so I don't know what the fuck you're even talking about.
COVID never happened.
Says the person who just had COVID like a week before.
No, he had SARS, whatever it's called, which is just the flu.
Yeah, he had the seasonal flu, folks. So it's the same thing.
Oh my god. I mean, I think honestly, the America runs on Dunkin', and when Dunkin' can't give out, you know, something free for the people. Yeah, it's a sign of the collapse. It's over. It's over.
It's Jover, people.
I mean, it's not really Jover because we were in the mecca of Dunkin' and I couldn't fucking turn around without finding one. I felt oppressed by
that was one of the funniest.
Samples.
That was one of the funniest bits. It was like Friday morning, our first morning there. We was like, oh yeah, there's like this little cafe like 100 feet across the street from our hotel. But it's like, oh shit, it's like cash only, and like only one of us had cash.
Fuck.
So we're like, oh, we'll just go to Dunkin', and I'm like, oh, where's there a Dunkin'? And just like basically, hit myself in the forehead. Yeah, it's like you turn around and spit, and you'll find a Dunkin'.
Yeah,
and literally, half a block.
I was gonna say like 200 feet away. There was Dunkin'.
Yeah.
There's always one in spitting distance.
Yeah. It's just like
it was impressive when we were walking on Thursday to the bar for dinner. Like every time I turned around, I was like, "Oh my god, there's another one!" Like, are we going in circles? Is that the same Dunkin'? Is it following me? Is it a? What's the?
I swear to God, I've seen this Dunkin' 3 times by now.
What are the monsters that everyone?
It's like want to say
not the CCP Foundation because obviously that's something else, but it's something like that. SCP.
Yes, the inspiration for control. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. That's the one that has like the endless IKEA store that once you go in, you just get lost forever.
Yeah.
This would just be like the insatiable Dunkin' that's always running on you.
That cafe going woke and only taking cash so that homeless people can buy their food is the death of Main Street. We had to go to Dunkin'.
Yeah, we had to go to a chain.
But based cash only place that's definitely hiding money from the government.
yeah. There's only one reason to be cash only, and that's to cheat your taxes.
Correct.
Oh, so we don't pay card fees.
Cooking those books.
Before we dive
into
some
pretty cool panels though.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, let's look at the panels here. I've got the full list up here. There is of course more panels that we wanted to go to that we couldn't. But there were a few good ones.
Before we jump in, I do just want to voice some criticisms I have over how this whole shindig is, and one being how they time out the panels is a frustrating thing. They make it so that essentially you have to choose between panels that are back to back. There's really no way to go to back panels successfully. And that was frustrating because a lot of them were ones we were interested in too that were back to back and essentially had to choose. So that was my one criticism. My other criticism is that I really think they need to post the what's available day to day prior to selling tickets. The fact that you pretty much had to buy tickets before the schedules were released is just a little bit frustrating to me. But those were just the two things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially if you're interested in only getting a 1-day pass, and you get it for Friday, but Saturday has the the panels that you were
Well,
really
so
interested in.
I don't exactly remember, and I should have
I
probably
think
kept
with a
track of
1-day
this.
pass, you just show up for 1 day. I don't think it's a specific day.
It is. You buy
No,
No,
it's
it is a
specific.
you,
specific
Yeah,
you
it's
pass.
buy
specific.
specific day patches.
Yeah,
That's
because
how
the
I bought
passes
mine.
say
Because
it
then,
on.
because then you could
Yeah.
just be like, oh, each day, be like, no, this is my one day,
Yeah.
right? You didn't see me here
No, it
yesterday.
says Thursday
it'll
or
say
Friday,
Saturday or
Saturday
something
on
like
the
that. Yeah.
pass.
Uh, yeah, I just lost my train of thought. Yeah, when tickets, I think badges went on sale before the schedule came out, but
Way before.
I don't think they sold out necessarily by the time the
That's
schedule
true.
came out. So you could potentially
Yeah.
wait to do it, but you're running the risk of them running out of, the badges that you want. Like it's largely you're going to run the risk of missing out on the
Nice
4 day
part
the
is next
full
year it's
day
in May.
or yeah, that'll be nice cuz depending
Really,
on
that is nice.
on what we want to do, there are other this was happening at the same time as GDC in on the West Coast, and
San Fran, I believe.
for all you 40K fans out there, represent it was the same time as Adepticon too. They're all like these. I think Gary Con was going on
Did you say
too.
Decepticons?
Okay, so the Adepticon thing helps to square the circle on why I saw like essentially no Warhammer stuff. So
Yeah.
that makes more sense
Because
there.
I was
Adepticon was going
surprised
on,
at the
so
lack
all
of
the vendors
Warhammer.
are there. All the vendors are in the Midwest. I'm pretty sure
The
it's in the Midwest.
And actually, the one other thing, well, before we jump into the panels, that I did want to say about the larger event was, I was surprised by the lack of like really AAA big gaming names. Like there was no Sony booth, none of that, and or Xbox, nothing.
Nintendo was only there in
Nintendo's was really
Yeah,
Pokemon only.
bad.
Nintendo, and it
So
was
whereas
Pokemon.
when I went in 2020, that was when they had, like the full Nintendo booth was Animal Crossing, which was about to become, a world,
Enormous.
this version of it, an even bigger,
People
worldwide
should have
smash
known
hit.
right then
Yeah.
and there that something was happening because Nintendo wasn't about to let Animal Crossing drop without forcing you to stay in your houses to play it endlessly to experience. What? Did I
Hey,
just
COVID happened in China, not Japan.
That's what Japan wants you to think. Japan and China famously great allies.
Yeah, they have a wonderful relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a very disappointing booth for Nintendo. They because they're just keeping their shit close to the chest right now, right?
Yeah,
Because
because
they're
it's the
they're in
worst
such a
kept secret.
they're in such a weird limbo position right now. It's like, yeah, the worst kept secret of when Switch 2 is dropping. So they don't want to be like, because they know that we know that it's coming at some point. They
And that they
aren't
know
gonna
that we know that they delayed it to get more games behind
yeah, and
it.
it's like if they featured a big name game, it would just create speculation over, oh, that means Switch 2's dropping. They're keeping those games until, Switch, to be launch titles for Switch 2. So like they don't have a big draw to bring it to be worth a
No,
boost. So
someone did
like, oh yeah,
someone did
Pokemon, that'll get people going. That'll get the people
Yeah.
going.
yeah. Someone did a Charlie board on the Nintendo subreddit of how none of the games this year that they're releasing are developed by any of the Japanese studios for Nintendo.
Hmm.
And then all of the Japanese studios must be cooking for
Oh, yeah.
Switch 2.
Yeah.
They'd be chefing it up in the kitchen.
Yeah, but as far as
So-
the other two big three, I don't remember them ever having a big presence there.
So Sony has had a presence at PAX before based on the posters we walked by.
What something that was interesting to me was this was the 20th anniversary of PAX, and that wasn't a big deal. I felt like at the
Yeah, I didn't
conference.
see any. I didn't
Yeah.
see like oh, here's some big event for to celebrate the
Yeah.
20-year anniversary. That's true. It's an interesting
And like
observation.
even the biggest panel, the like showcase panel or whatever, the cyberpunk one that we went to, like that there wasn't a big like review, like it wasn't, it was a good panel, but it
Yeah, there
wasn't
wasn't a whole
anything
lot of fanfare.
special.
I mean, I
Yeah.
guess
I
the
hope that
one
that
thing I'd be is
cyberpunk
that
panel bouncer
25 is
listens to
usually
this podcast.
see, 25 is usually bigger than 20. So
But I mean still
it's still
like
no. I
they
agree. I
they
agree.
were like celebrating it in a way, like they had the enforcers had t-shirts on and stuff like that, but
Dude, the term enforcer just makes it so funny to me.
yeah, it's hilarious.
It was really funny. Like
They be enforcing.
there was only like there was like a halfway split for them. They're either like the nicest people
Yeah.
you've ever met, or just literally power hungry bitches. Like
You are a half
Yeah.
inch over the tape, sir. I will escort you out of here.
I will
Do
not
you want to
hesitate to
ruin
get
this
into
for everyone?
yeah, I will not hesitate to get into a kinetic style situation with you, over your ass hanging half inch over the tape line. I will get the file marshal up here and he will butt fuck you in front of the entire audience.
And shut down this whole thing. You'll ruin it for everyone.
We will take kinetic action.
Dude, it took so much self-control for me not to just be myself at that exact moment.
Dude, I was letting that shit slip
because
throughout.
I was fully prepared there just to mouth off and just walk away and just go back down the escalator.
Just start planking over the line. Just lay there.
No, there was so much space. Any fire marshal would have been like, yeah, he's fine.
Yeah, it's a Boston fire marshal.
All of those codes.
Do you even think a fire
like
marshal was
tolerance.
there? No way. No, absolutely no way.
Hey Tommy, you got to go to the fucking. They're calling it PAX. You got to go to PAX.
You got to go to the big nerd convention. Yeah, fuck them. Let them burn. All right. So
yeah, fire marshal walks in. No, there's not enough people to create a crush. Pack more in.
Dude, Saturday felt that way.
Yeah, it was pretty nuts. So let's go with
hold on. Last thing, the walkways in the expo center.
The glass walkways.
They're just so narrow. No. Between the
between the
exhibits
booths.
on the exhibit floor. Yeah. It was just so narrow, but they had so much space between
they could have spaced that
arena
and
like
they did put a lot of
exhibits.
space on the sides for bathroom and like through traffic to the escalators, which is generally a good idea so that you can.
No one was ever really using it.
No, I was gonna say
they could have gone like another like 15-20 feet on either side, and they probably would have been fine.
And like at least 20 feet into that empty space in the middle, and like because nerds were just fucking like stopping in the middle of the walkways. They had signs telling people not to do that.
As someone with wider shoulders, the amount of dodging I had to do to not like fully shoulder check very frail looking nerds.
Okay, now we can move to the panels. That was my last gripe.
Okay, Thursday, I'm pretty sure
that was RPGs.
We went to 3 different panels across the 3 of us, but so the first one was the Great RPG Landscape, which Matt and I went to.
That was just a circle jerk.
One of the first panels that it was just a bunch of like content creators like talking about their favorite RPGs, and the line is just like, we're all friends. We all know each other. Oh, oops, we all have the same taste in games. Oops, is this an echo chamber? Are we all saying that the Secret of Mana is the best RPG
I was
ever?
Gonna say, you know the meme where it's like someone's opinion over the Buzz Lightyear, and then it zooms out to the aisle full of the Buzz Lightyears.
Yeah.
It was like, you don't say Secret of Mana is your favorite and Kingdom Hearts is the most overrated. Interesting.
Yeah, except for the one cool guy who was like, The Legend of Dragoon.
Base Legend of Dragoon guy.
At least here at Campaign Comrades, we have diversity in gaming.
Mm-hmm. See, we were Matt and I were hooting and hollering when the entire crowd at the
Most
panel
overrated
agreed
game.
that Pokemon is the most overrated RPG franchise. It was
Mike, do you have a response?
unanimous decision.
I'm speechless.
Like, this is your chance to respond to the whole crowd. Roast them. Go.
No, I'm just speechless. They don't know what they're talking about.
Use flamethrower.
I'm using overheat.
It was interesting that the majority of the games discussed were JRPGs. You know,
Yeah.
in a lot of way, it could have
They
just
said
been
that at the very beginning. Like, we're not going to use the
landscape.
label JRPG or
Yeah.
like Western RPG. And they pretty much exclusively spoke about JRPGs.
Yeah, there
Because
were
they are cultured people.
It's true. It's true. I mean, like, here's the thing,
one of them was wearing sunglasses inside. So, like,
I think one person maybe said like Morrowind.
yeah,
or
Morrowind came up at
Oblivion.
some point.
I feel like one of them said like one of the good Elder Scrolls.
Mhm.
And it's like, yeah, aside from that and like The Witcher 3. Oh, they talked about the earlier Witcher games. They're like,
Yeah.
because they're like, you know, like The Witcher 3,
Which-
awesome, love it. But like, you know, people trying to
Oh no,
convince me
that was
to
also
play...
in the overrated games because that
no,
was
no, they were just talking about the first ones. They were talking about
yes, but that's what they said. He
the
was
Witcher,
like,
the Witcher and
is
Witcher 2.
overrated, and they were like, wait, which Witcher? He was like, because it was like 1 and 2 or 3.
It's like because then they were talking about like, yeah, everyone was basically pretty excited for the Witcher 1 remake.
Oh my god, you're bringing back the PTSD of the second panel because the guy who yelled out Witcher 1 or 2 reminds me of Stimmy Turner.
Was he
All right,
at
so
that
moving
one?
on from that point.
Was he at that one?
Don't
Because
think so.
we'll get to him. We'll get to him. I'm trying to remember which panel he was at.
Because he was at
We saw him at 2.
Child
Wasn't
no.
he was at one that I was at, which I think was the Final Fantasy
that was the
7
second one. No,
remake
that one
the
was
Final
2
Fantasy 7, and before that, I'll look through my pictures because I have a picture from every panel.
It was the one where wasn't he talking about Awakening?
No,
it was something.
He was
Or
talking.
Avowed?
He was talking about Half-Life
VR.
Alex.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's it.
In a panel that did not like have anything to do with VR or
Unlocking the positive potential of gaming for kids and teens. It was because Stimmy Turner took over and then Reactionary Lady took over. And by that point, I
Yes.
was too dead to.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Because it was the second one. Because it was I was walking around.
Yeah, you weren't at that
the
one.
floor at that point. It was after my panel.
Yeah, so you went to the brush your teeth cybersecurity hygiene for creators. That one of your one of your friends
and met my lawyer friend that is actually his tag on everything, Noah Downs, and learned about some cybersecurity hygiene, and AI is coming for us, people. The scammers are out there. They're using AI. It's not great. They're into AI generated DMs now is the new thing. And it's like, particularly with smaller content creators, it's other content, AI chat bots of like hacked or, scam, like content creator or even brands DMing these smaller content creators trying to like, scam them out of whatever. Or it's like, a friend saying, like, let's collab and send money, like send me money for this, whatever. So it's, definitely a targeted thing that is being used by these people, as well as I learned that people are making AICP now, which
AI Chris Paul, the point god.
Yeah, I don't like. Yeah, we talked about that in the when we were there. Yes,
which is not great. And so, Noah, as a lawyer, one of the things his firm does has been taking that down for clients. So like one of the pieces of advice was don't put your children on social media because gross people are going to use them.
I'd say that was basically the takeaway of the child development in gaming panel. Is it that was the like, oh, we're going to talk about like the benefits. And it was like 5 minutes. And it's like, now let's talk about the negatives. 30 minutes. It was all about online gaming. So,
yeah, but this was like, don't put physical pictures of your children on social
well,
media.
yes,
and,
because,
like,
well,
yeah,
one of the things they brought up was like the harassment through DMs in games and how
interesting.
people can use the, like, if you're playing on PC, for example, can like, hack into your computer, get like pictures from your webcam, and then send them to you in DMs. Be like, oh, I'm going to email this to your entire email.
I pulled your IP.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, another one that I learned of, which actually was amazing to me, how easy they, so it was a cybersecurity expert for like he didn't disclose who he worked for, but it was like a big uh, firm or like a big company in their like cyber defense.
Pixel Pete,
And
manager of security
yes,
architecture.
and so he was saying that there's a big issue with SIM swapping. So people will go down to like AT&T, and if they have enough information on you, that if you are putting it out on social media publicly, like they'll just finesse a AT&T employee into like, allowing, like, I lost my SIM card, my SIM card broke, I need a new one, this is the number, here's, my date of birth, or I'm a family member, I'm authorized, whatever. As long as they have enough information from you, and they have enough riz and finesse, charisma to fucking, get the employee to do what they're asking, and then they get a SIM card with your fucking
some
phone number.
Bangladeshi guy is pretending to be my relative. Yeah.
No, but this is a physical, like, going into the store. So this
No,
is
I
more
know that was part of the joke.
Yeah.
It's just that
Yeah.
some Bangladeshi guy is coming in and it's just like
They walk into
my
AT&T and
obviously
they're like, oh yes,
Anglo-Saxon last
your name
name.
is Benjamin.
Yeah.
Yeah. My obviously Anglo name, like is like
Mr. Ryan Scott.
Yeah. Seems legit to me.
Joseph Smith. Interesting.
But yeah, that one.
Oh yeah, I married.
Took...
I married into the family. I won't do an accent, but yeah, it's like, he's my nephew. I married into the family.
But yeah, so it was just like a lot of. Then they were giving like best practices for like passwords now, and password protection.
Which was hilarious.
Using,
you told us all that shit, and I'm just like, nope, never gonna do that. Because
yeah.
that's the surefire way to lock me out of all of my accounts.
Well, I mean, the biggest suggestion was using a keychain
generator
type thing. Yeah. Like a
oh man,
so you have a
LastPass did so
pass.
well when it got hacked like 2 months ago.
Well, it was like suggesting using like Google Authenticator to like store.
Yeah, I know. I was just making a.
Yeah.
Like my work really pushed for LastPass, and like sent me a like, hey, you're like one of the few people who hasn't like signed up for your LastPass account yet. So like I finished the sign up and then I never used it after that point. And then when LastPass got hacked and everyone was bugging out, I was like, ah, suckers.
That's how you get got.
But yeah, so
you can't LastPass my passwords. They're random enough.
So it was a very interesting, like, educational in a way panel that was like actually useful, unlike your child development and gaming with just rants on how games are bad.
I mean, the panel himself wasn't
rest
too
in
bad.
Peace, Joe Lieberman, by the way. The OG games are bad.
Rest in piss, you old bastard.
The panel itself wasn't too bad. I mean, the things they brought up as negatives were in like they're not
Yeah,
wrong.
pretty hard to argue against that. Most of online gaming culture is pretty toxic and bad for kids. But
Always has been.
the joke that like it's not like we're the first ones to make this, but it's like turn to Matt, like when they're talking about this, and it's like these people are weak. They would never survive in a 2004 COD lobby.
Yeah.
Never. They they're too frail. They're too fragile.
But the highlight of that
I
panel,
was molded in the crucible.
Yeah. I was born in the darkness.
The highlight of that panel was the
Molded
Q&A
by
session afterwards.
Oh my god,
Which
yeah.
most panels either didn't have or just were boring comparatively.
I had a good question for that one because again, like I wanted to like kind of pose a challenge to them, and because like two of them were data specialists, so like I was like curious to see if they had any data about it, but was like gonna like talk about how we live in such a kind of alienated society, and particularly for young people it's hard to make friendships and real human connections. So is there any data to has there been any data research done on you know the benefits of community building for young people through gaming? Like are there any tangible benefits that way, in being able to break out of isolation and the kind of depressing bit of our culture? So I wanted to do that, but instead we got fucking Stimmy Turner, who is probably the most autistic person I've ever met, or I say ever seen. Dude
Coming
was
from a
Don't
group
mean
of
that in a
autists.
derogatory way. We just
No,
mean
I mean,
that straight up.
yeah, good for him.
It's
Like,
a matter of fact.
but he was stimming so hard the entire time. And then just again went on this like info dump question about explaining everything he loved about Half-Life Alex, and like
And
asking about
VR, it was like 5
there
minutes.
was
It
a
felt like
question.
5 minutes. It might have been 2. I was
It came
dying.
to a question of like VR, and it's like he was like kind of made it tangentially related. It's like, what are the possible benefits we'll get from VR, from new VR technology? But like it was like he had, I think, the kernel of a good question. Like, could VR technology offer some kind of developmental uh benefits to young people? Exploring new things that you can't do in your modern, say in your modern hellhole, like that you can't, you just do not have access to. I feel like that was the question he was actually trying to get at, but it just resulted in a 10-minute info dump on here's why Half-Life Alex was my favorite game, my
Dude,
favorite
it
franchise.
might have been 20 minutes. It could
all
have
the
been
things
2
you can
minutes.
do.
I
was
almost had to leave. I
Yeah.
almost couldn't keep it together.
That was
Uh,
like getting out his you know compulsive thoughts via text in the group chat.
I was just like, Matt, like you're so uncomfortable because you're looking into a dark, twisted mirror. You don't like what you see.
No, I didn't. But
But then it was after that.
I was the
so-
smallest person in the room at that
Yeah,
moment.
no, he was just like unconsciously just shrinking into
Shrinking.
his seat like during the whole thing. It was just like literally like the physical cringing was intense. But then oh my god,
Should have filmed it.
then there was this
No.
lady. Then there
That's
was this,
cyberbullying.
then there was this lady who came in after
Oh.
Stimmy Turner,
Karen.
and she just like basically just
I'm
got
a
up
teacher I'm an educator and a
yeah.
parent.
and just started yelling at like, what about the low motivated kids who the only thing they want to do is play video games? It's like
Let 'em
it sucks. But so like first off, we're just like, wow, you paid, even if it's just for the day, it's like you paid $100 and some odd dollars just to come in and yell at people. Like you hate games, yet you paid $100 some odd dollars to come to the gaming convention to yell at people. It's just like Jesus
Dude.
fucking Christ.
Perfect. That is the perfect like description of just online commentators, though. Like essentially, they're just purposely putting themselves in situations to get mad.
It's the extreme version of like the Twitter Blue user, right? Paying
It's
to get their
IRL.
It's paying money to get their opinions heard, their shitty opinions heard.
Yeah, it's the like the physical embodiment of the Reddit r/boomers are fools.
but then there was this guy who had his own question, but then spent most of his time responding to this lady,
just deconstructing her
in such a well thought out and much more
he did it so composed.
Much more composed than I did, because I very much under my breath, because she then started interrupting this guy, because but they don't want to learn, they don't want to teach. I'm just
sounds like you're a bad teacher.
Yeah, I said sound like you're a fucking bad teacher. And if you can't learn how to,
got a fist pump out of some people around.
Yeah, it's like if you can't learn how to channel a kid's energy and their drive from one way to the other, it's to use that focus as a tool rather than an impediment. It's just yeah, you're a bad teacher. That's a YP,
Educator.
I was about to say, could you imagine if I had the superpower of having to do Elden Ring math when I was in elementary school? How much farther along in my career I'd be right now?
You should have yelled
Where's
at
the
her,
Vati
"Get
video
good,
for
sweaty."
American history?
It all started.
Yeah, so that was one of the highlights in terms of it was, the panel itself was yeah, it's they had some interesting things to say.
I thought the panel itself was kind of bland.
It was kind of bland, but it was, I'm
I
really
give
glad
her credit,
we went
though,
because of the questions, actually.
I give her credit, because when she started speaking, I immediately thought she was going to attack the trans
non-binary. Yeah, it was they pronouns they, he, she. Yeah, and it's thought that they were, it's definitely that type of, it was that middle class white woman.
I was fully expecting her to just go on a tirade of how can you be speaking on
you're the one, and they were the one who was
the censor.
Yeah, their job is doing moderation. They work for a company that does moderation. So it's how can we let this person be the one who's deciding what our kids hear and see? That's what.
So
totally
I give her
expected.
credit for not going there.
That was not the direction they went.
She didn't go full Monty.
Yeah. So that was good. All right, but we spent too much time on this panel already, but it was a highlight for sure. Matt, what did you think?
We had to talk about it.
Yeah. What do you think of our final panel for the day? The Final Fantasy VII original versus remake.
It was okay.
It's in my opinion, those panels just became it's oh yeah, we're just they were kind of just live podcast kind of thing, where it's
they're just talking about our favorite game.
Yeah, they're just people
especially
talking about their opinions. They didn't really have
anyone connected to the game. They were just content creators
until the end.
Historian.
No,
that was the
Final Fantasy. And those were all the developers from the top.
You're right.
No, we're talking about the 7 one. No, these were just all content creators again who.
Yeah.
There was someone who had a doctorate up there for something. I could probably look at the picture that
one.
Had
I think they're psychologists, and one of them was a PhD candidate.
I think you're also mixing things up.
No, I'm positive. I'm looking at it right now. There's two. There are actually two doctors.
Christopher Leach.
He's the PhD candidate, and then two of the others are already PhDs. One's a psychotherapist. The other one, I think, I think is also
where Lisa.
I think they're still all content creators, but two of them did have PhDs already. Yeah, and the one who is the PhD candidate and one of the ones who's already a PhD, they're writing a book together.
They're even less qualified to speak to the common experience.
Mm-hmm. But no, it was just it was kind of meandering.
I didn't really like that one. I kind of lost me. They kind of lost me in that one. Mostly just because they didn't really talk about what I wanted them to talk about.
Which was
what it seemed.
Which would be
they
what
were going to talk about.
I'm interested.
I was expecting more direct discussion and comparison, back and forth.
Same.
Hear the changes that they made and what we thought about that.
That's exactly what I thought.
I would have liked to hear a little bit more about that as well.
That's kind of how it read. The
because they were mostly
I'll say the descriptions were not good.
I mean, they were probably fucking Chat GPT written, to be completely honest. There was
Yeah, no,
I
you're
was
right.
reading some of the text at the convention, and I was like, ooh, that's some AI ass fucking paragraph right there.
Which could also be that people are now, like writing like they are AI. It's like it's feeding each other.
There's, I mean, yes, AI is obviously built off of the works of other people to make it sound like people, but it's like there are some like giveaways with AI with how it like how it'll get stuck referring to things in like
Well, yeah,
a
what I'm
constant.
saying is people are so stupid that they're being influenced by AI and their writing is becoming
No,
worse.
they're just TikToking and eating hot chip and and lying.
And lying.
All right, should we move to Friday?
Yeah.
Yes.
Which I want to preface with like a little bit of my anecdote.
Friday is
'cause-
when the Princeton lacrosse team moved in.
to our hotel.
Yeah.
But so we had like a couple panels that we were interested in going to, and we ended up going to a certain path, and it was largely we got there early enough, and like there was a short enough line for a game that I wanted to try to check out. I have it actually, all the ones that I demoed up here, just so
This was the
could keep track
like
of them.
1920s
Yes, so
gangstery.
this is Fallen Aces by New Blood Interactive. It is like kind of like a crime noir FPS with like some kind of light sim elements. From what I saw, lots of interactable stuff that was kind of
It had a
cool.
lot of people at the booth, but I'm just telling you that name immediately evokes Smoking Aces, which was a really bad movie.
Mm.
Well,
Uh,
and that booth in particular, Matt, had all the things that you were talking about. Like it was a good looking booth. It had a
Yep.
lot of like vertical
Verticality
height
so
to
that you can
it.
see
Yep.
it.
However,
Yep.
from what I
It was a
understand,
good
though,
booth.
the people that were there, that wasn't just one that were. It's like, oh, we're just like, we're drawing you in via flashy colors and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, they're
Everybody,
also a studio.
everybody that I saw, like, and was like overhearing it, like they were knowledgeable and fans of the studio and like
Yeah.
doing
That's where you
so
saw
there's
Josh Sawyer.
yeah, so that's why I wanted to bring it up, because we went to his panel later in the day. But so it's like the highlight and one of like the things I feel worst about in the panel. So like I'm waiting in line. I'm like, I've got like my, I'm looking at my wrist. I don't actually wear a watch. It's like constantly checking the time. It was an 11 a.m. panel that I wanted to go to. Ended up going, deciding as I was getting closer to the front, I'm going to go to the 11:30 panel with you guys instead, the Final Fantasy 16 DLC one, which was cool. Glad I ended up going to that one.
That was the first like real panel that I was like, okay, this feels like a panel.
Yeah. But so I'm waiting in line. The other guys, they're out just like looking at the floor as I'm waiting in line. And so there's like this other like, autistic teen. You could just tell. Again, you could tell with these people. Take I didn't mean like that. Takes one to know one though, right? It's like, again, I see myself there. I can just tell. I can tell with these things.
That delivery was
So it's like this kid, this like, teen. And it's basically, again, another thing where you could tell is like basically kid was too old to be there with his mom, but was there with his mom. So that's why, like, it's like, okay,
Giveaway.
yeah, giveaway. But it's like they're behind me.
Unless, of course, that's something that he and his mom have been doing, since he was young,
Maybe. But
It's a nostalgia
no,
thing.
because they told me this was the first one that they'd been to.
Glass
And
shatter.
yeah. But so like this is like an hour and a half before basically the Leviathan panel. And they're like saying like, oh, we want to go to that one. Like we should we just leave and go get in line? And I'm just myself, I'm like, I'm going to the same one. No, it's way too fucking early.
Up till this point, that is way too early. All the panels we've been to haven't been that big of a queue.
And so I told them that. I'm like, you know what? Like I've yet to go to a panel where you need to be there more than like 30 minutes ahead of time. You're good. And then of course, after all these other things that I do want to talk about, though, it's like I basically with meeting up with you guys, we just got to that panel, just got to the cutoff. Like we were in one of
we
the
were like
back
a couple
rows.
rows in front of the end of the line.
So like that kid may have missed it because of me, and I felt very bad about it. But
Mea culpa.
what I also felt bad about in a different way is like then again what forced he and I to then take even longer. I had literally gotten to the front of the line. I was to be the next person, and some like this isn't for like some like big publication or anything, whatever. Just some dude with a media badge comes up and there's like, oh, we're gonna fast track you, get you into the next opening, and then one of the guys comes up to me and says, sorry, they're media, and so never have I been more
Us getting
black-pilled.
media badges next year.
Yeah. That's what I said to them. It's like, never have I been more black-pilled against games media than I was at that moment. And I was like, I hate them until I become them. When I get the media badge, then it's good. Then it's good and just that I get to go early.
When I get the media badge, I'm just going to go to all the busy booths right away and just walk up and be like, "I'm media. Can you let me to the front?"
Yeah.
I don't even play Final Fantasy 14. I just want to sit at the computer and look at it.
Yeah. So then like I've got to, and I guess I owe them some little bit of gratitude, because if it wasn't for them taking my spot ahead of me, I wouldn't have had my highlight interaction of the whole trip was
Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, I get to my little station. I'm about to put my headphones on, and I'm like starting up the game, and like I just like I see like out of the corner of my eye, I see that someone towards the back end is just kind of like watching, and it's like I do a legit double take, and like I rip my headphones off and was like, holy shit, are you Josh Sawyer? Leader and director at Obsidian Games, it's the director of Pentiment and Fallout New Vegas and the Pillars of Eternity games.
Referred to him in his full title.
And he was just like, oh yeah. And so I shook his hand and I was like, told him I'm a big fan and that I'm going to go into his panel later in the day, which we'll talk about. And then he proceeded to be like, is it cool if I watch you play? And I just immediately start fumbling with this controller. Like, oh yeah, sure, that's cool. And
holds the controller in the upside down armored core grip.
No, but I'm fumbling around in this game that like clearly is optimized for keyboard and mouse. The controls for the controller were dog shit. I will say that. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. So I'm just fumbling around, bumping into walls, trying to like, to interact with things that aren't interactable. But like, I did at least get to show off, like I picked up a fire extinguisher and was shooting goons with the fire extinguisher, and he and I both got a chuckle out of that. And then he said, I've seen enough. Thanks so much. See ya at 2. And
he walked away saying, yeah, you can.
My fans are a lot dumber than I thought.
He walked away saying, yeah, you can recognize those people.
Yeah.
He was like looking around for your guardian.
Yeah. So that was one of the highlights for me, for sure, was just getting to meet him, shake his hand, and I definitely got a little starstruck fangirly, just brain empty, getting the vapors.
I'm sad we walked up like right after that happened. It would have been cool to have also gotten a chance to witness.
I mean, when he said it, I was like, "Oh, is that Josh Sawyer?"
Yeah, Matt went into Terminator mode. Just where is he?
And it was cool. It was very cool. But so yeah, then we all ended up going to the Leviathan, the Not So Lost is Here. What's new in Final Fantasy 16 DLC, The Rising Tide?
The highlight of that DLC panel for me was Mike immediately wanting to buy Final Fantasy 16 after all three of us have been gushing about it since we played it.
Yeah, which by the way, he's AFK taking an emergency shit, by the way. He'll come back eventually. It must be a doozy. He's been gone for
his microphone minute. Keeps going green a little bit, which tells me that there's some noise coming out of the
There he is.
It was rough. It was rough. I was listening to you guys the whole time. Yes, I did it. I did I haven't purchased it yet, but I will be purchasing Final Fantasy
great game.
16.
It was
I
fun.
love Final Fantasy 16.
I liked it a lot. I enjoyed it a lot.
Norgal.
Yeah, we got little pixel art Jill pins for our
I got
lanyards
black
and
pilled
stuff.
on the pin community immediately.
Yeah. But yeah, that one was really cool. Getting to see, Yoshi,
Footage.
the myth, the legend, Yoshi P. Then we also had Takeo Kujiroka. Did I pronounce that correctly? I don't know. He
Western
was,
Devil Tongue.
yeah, he was. So he's the director for the DLC, but he was previously the Icon fight director.
Yeah.
For the main game, which was very cool. Some of like the coolest parts of that game.
Definitely.
Like, I said
I
to you
mean,
guys,
the
I said to you guys,
Bahamut fight is
yeah, I said to you guys after the panel that honestly, Final Fantasy 16 has ruined the summons for me in any other game. They look
because
so
the icons
small
are
and
so
weak,
fucking
and
cool.
they're so cool, and just the scale of them is insane in 16.
Yeah.
But we got to see a lot of footage, a lot of trailers.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the in and out clips of footage we got. That kept me like that's a super engaging way to run the panel.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because like they put out like the trailer to the world
Yeah.
afterwards, but I feel like there was definitely some stuff that, I mean, I guess it was being streamed on Twitch, so those people got to see
Yeah.
it as well. But like, and I'm
I
sure you
felt
could
exclusive.
yeah, they did feel like it was like, oh yeah, we're getting treated a little bit. You know,
I got to see
in person.
Tonberries before everyone else, even if it's just a 6-second delay.
Yeah, the new King Tomberry design is pretty fucking sick. Yeah,
Yeah, it is sweet.
thoughts on that panel though. I enjoyed it. I thought it was cool. Just cool.
That was
Cool to see
probably
them
one of my
talk about the
favorite
game.
overall panels.
Mine as well.
Yeah, I would say that was my favorite. I felt like we got the most insight into decisions they made making the game, and then we also got some good just upfront marketing for the DLC.
I'd also like to shout out they did a really good job of the live translator going back and forth and like it not feeling robotic or stale.
He is the localization director.
Yes.
So it's got to have like a good relationship with them. So knows them well, knows their speaking styles and all that stuff, as well as some of that was probably already like basically pre-written.
Of course. I'm just saying like
Yeah.
it was a nice, it didn't feel like he says something, pause, wait for translator. Oh no, they're panicking. Oh God, they're sweating so much.
Yeah. No, it was good. I thought that was cool. Yeah, some interesting things to see. Like, yeah, it made me
Leviathan's powers are just gone. So now it's
Yeah.
full Devil May Cry. We finally have completed it.
I don't know that I'll buy the first part of the DLC. The something
Echoes of the
relate
Fallen
Echoes of
or
the
something
Fallen,
like
yeah.
that.
I think that's correct. Yeah, I don't know that I'm
Which sounds like
super
the Transformers sequel,
Yeah.
Rise of the Fallen.
I'm not particularly interested in that one, and I haven't read anything that's like super glowing about it.
Yeah,
But
that's more of a dungeon, and this is more of a like full icon like chapter.
Yeah.
Would be the more comparison.
Did you say you think you're gonna do it and then try to do the Ultima fight again to see if he adds something for Leviathan?
Yes, of course. But I mean, I also have to find Winged Clive. I must find him.
Is he safe? Oh yeah, and
I
that
like to
was
bet
then we had like the big surprise at the end. Reading the pre-taken questions was Ben Starr, the man himself, came out to read
they
them.
saw people getting up and leaving, and they're like, "Oh wait,
hold on."
Yeah.
But we were one of them. We ended up like
Yeah.
taking some people's seats that
in the back, right by the exit.
Yeah, that had left. And that was cool. That was cool. Let's see here.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I think the only other thing on Friday we did was the historical accuracy
Yeah, the
research
Josh
behind
Sawyer
games, which
one.
was Josh Sawyer's panel, which again we were like surprised to see how crowded it was, but then the people behind us were like yeah, it's because Josh Sawyer's here.
Yeah.
They were like, yeah, that's the reason we're here.
Mm-hmm.
The dude in line behind us, I'd like to shout out the fact I don't know if he was cosplaying anything. I think that was just his regular
His
energy.
style. I think he was cosplaying something, but I don't know what it was. But yeah, no, I thought that was one of the more interesting kind of lower key panels.
Until the French woman started speaking.
Oh my god, I couldn't understand the fucking words she was saying.
Nope, couldn't understand anything. And most of the time, the only thing I could
Oh, yeah.
understand was when she was like, well, I don't. I think I know French word for it.
Yeah, how you
but-"
say, like it was doing that type of shit. But like, I honestly could not, like, respect to her. I'm sure she's, had
yeah,
interesting things to
absolutely.
say and all that. I just couldn't fucking understand them.
I mean, the best thing she said was refuting the other woman who said that AI and Chat GPT will help with adding historical accuracy to
I
games.
think you guys misheard. I don't think she said that.
No, she
No,
totally
she was
did.
just
'Cause
saying
then
that
the
she
French
was
What do
woman was
you
like,
looking
think,
into
Ben?
adding
it
it to
doesn't
their
work.
No, she was just all
department.
I heard her say was like, I'm interested in the question.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? That I didn't hear her voice an opinion. I
No,
heard
she was
I
just
heard
open to it.
she's like, oh, I think that's an interesting question. Like, I'm interested to see what comes of it, good or bad. I didn't hear her
But my
voice an
interpretation on
opinion.
the whole thing was
But
that
the
the
French
French lady
woman was like, no,
misinterpreted
that
what
shit
she
sucks.
said and then got defensive because she was like, "Oh, you're taking my job because I am video game historian." And
No,
I don't know.
I think you misread that whole interaction.
Maybe I
One of
did.
us did. One of us did.
But at the very least, the
so
French
let's
woman
just
was
posit
like,
this question here for a second. How could it be possible that a group of 4 people, all with varying levels of mental capacity, could be having trouble reading social cues?
I mean, listen. Either way, the French woman did say that they
Oh, it's
tried it
bad.
and it
It's
sucked.
bad. It's
So,
And she's like, yeah,
Well, yeah,
like
because I
literally,
mean,
that's my
we all
job.
know that Chat GPT and stuff like that, you can influence the answers with just a little bit of massaging. You can just be like,
yeah.
I don't agree with that answer. You'd be like, you're right. Let me find a new source.
Yeah, Chat GPT is just skimming Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Like,
Literally.
because yeah, they're biased by whatever the fucking model is. Like what is the source of the large language model.
Be like, is the Earth round? You'd be like, yes. It's like, I don't know. I've never seen it be round. You're like,
They
you're right. I
Kyrie
found
Kyrie Irving has compelling arguments that says something different.
Says otherwise.
But yeah, the French lady was like, yeah, no, like literally, that's my job, is being the one who does the research.
It didn't help that of the people up there, I didn't know any of the games they were up there for other than Josh Sawyer.
Well, I knew that.
Yeah.
I knew the ancestor game.
I didn't know Ancestor and the Pirate King one.
That's a VR. It's a
Pirate Queen. Wow.
Whatever.
Cancelable offense.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's not a Monkey D. Luffy fucking game. Better game that's not VR.
Yeah, no, for me it was it's a VR game. Next.
Yeah, next.
I would have checked it out if it wasn't a VR game. But yeah, what did you know about the Ancestor game?
Just know it got some heat for like how it represented essentially like the evolution process of man. I don't remember exactly what their critiques were.
Was it getting
but I
heat?
know
Was it getting
a
heat from
French studio
creationists or from actual evolutionary scientists?
No, from like evolutionary scientists and
Okay.
like
Well, and you got to gamify it in some way, right?
yeah, exactly.
You can't do it fully.
I'm gonna
that
look
would be
into
no
it and gonna
fun.
find out that like the skill tree is like a phrenology map of your skull or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah. If you make the right choices, the final evolution is a white male. If you make the wrong choices, well, you can do the math.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was a big fan of Pentiment. Obviously, it was like one of my favorite games. Ended up being one of my favorite games of 2022. I played it at the very end of the year, and it was just like, it was one that like I didn't know that I didn't I was a little skeptical going in. Like, I'm not a big point and click kind of adventure gamer. I'm I do like a lot of I am a combat kind of focused gamer. I like those kind of systems more usually than anything. But I don't know, I just got like swept away by it, and it was just like the art, the themes, the ambiguity, but then just the sense of place that it gave. You know, he had this cool thing where he's like, "Yeah, I've had actual Bavarians come up to me and it's like, oh, like where I feel like I've been to Tassing or something, and it's a made up place. You know, it's not real."
Oh yes,
And
Tassing. It's north of in northern Bavaria.
I really enjoyed his take on just doing a historical game. So like they each had a varying degree of like the accuracy that they were trying to portray within the
Mhm.
game. Like the Queen, the Pirate Queen one, they were discussing some of the liberties they took, but they were trying to focus on this real life person that that and tell their story through a video game in some way. The ancestors focusing on a very specific period of time and like how humans evolved. But in Pentiment, it is this fake place with
In
fake
place,
history,
not
but is
not real people, and like, you know, taking like lots of different elements. Like he talks about all the time. Like it was so rare to have like in this era a place that would like had a scriptorium and that had monks and a nunnery and all these things together in one.
yeah.
Like that would be so, basically not happen, but
But
like
but
the
what
disparate pieces were all really
Yes, but what
well
he
done.
created was like this screenshot uh of life in that period, and did it with like fake, people that didn't exist, but does it in a way that captures that period of time way better than any of the other games ability when they're focusing on a someone that existed. And I thought that was a very interesting to me, how you could in the nature of the history, like the historical research that he was doing and how he was trying to bring that into the game, and him being the developer doing that, or like the lead doing that research. So the research is like from the top down, whereas like Pirate Queen, she's making decisions, but she's making decisions based on information that she's just getting from others. She hasn't done it herself. So I think
Well, I
that
mean, she
that was
was the
something
CEO
special in that
too.
game.
You have to remember the role differences.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, but
CEO is different than game director. But yeah.
yeah, but
The thing I also liked about that conversation was how they handle anachronisms in their gaming worlds, and they all kind of specifically, and Ben, this is I think what you're talking about too, essentially used what's called parachronism, and that's where they took things that are did exist at that time historically but may not have existed in this particular setting so
Mhm.
explicitly.
Yeah.
And I think that's where that's how you do that right, I think, personally.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think that was it for Friday in terms of panels. And as I'm looking at it, I think we only went to Cyberpunk on Saturday,
We
right?
went to the space exploration one, which ended up
Ah,
being that one
bro.
guy
Oh,
essentially just going through his
ugh,
CV. It was kind of
ugh.
Gaming in the space
It
age.
was
That's right.
cringe.
That's right.
That was probably the worst panel for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the space stuff. Cool. That's
Yeah.
yeah.
cool. I like that, but like,
He
yeah,
just could
the
have tied it to gaming better. It was
He,
very,
the
he
way he tied
started
it to
joysticks.
gaming
he
was
started off
basically,
okay, but
these
then
are
Yeah.
my
it's
favorite space games. Now let's talk about space.
yeah, he didn't like it would have been better like, like what are like like the lessons we learned in space that like or like like the actual technology
Joystick.
transfer. And yeah, he just focused on like, yeah, we both use joysticks, isn't that
Yeah.
cool, isn't that neat? um
And like I would have liked to do some of like the kind of like the history talk where I would have liked to hear,
Hmm.
what's right, what's represented well within gaming in space and what's not represented well. Like things like that would have been cool.
Ratchet and Clank is the most accurate simulation of space that we have ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna fight against Space Corporation. Yeah, so it did just end up being like, yeah, here are all like the projects I worked on at the Jet Propulsion Lab and stuff like that, which like cool.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. But yeah, it didn't really
Not why I was there.
and he finished the panel really fast, because then it just went
Yeah.
to like, oh, I've got like 15 minutes for
Q&A.
questions. And a lot of
And
people
then we
started
were
lining
like,
up. A lot of people started lining up, but we just fucked out of there. Like,
And he
let's
was
go do some
also
other
like
things.
he was honing his tight five for when he becomes a stand-up. Like,
Mhm.
it was very well, like, or not well rehearsed, but it was very rehearsed, and he knew the the punchlines he was trying
it
to
was
hit.
very much a presentation, not a
Yes.
discussion.
Yep, for sure.
All right, so yeah, the
I
highlight.
mean, yeah, because he even had the jokes on the panels, like the slideshow panels.
Yeah.
So we got out of there pretty quick. Then the major panel that we went to was the Code, Sweat, and Cheers: How We Made Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty.
Where I chose Team Chrome and got myself that fancy pin.
Yeah, me too.
I got a t-shirt.
It was time to chrome the fuck up, and I did. Oh yeah, they had some goodies for you.
And then you could have sold it for $40 to a pin scammer.
Yeah.
That Andrew just gave away for free because
Yeah.
he's a fucking dingus.
Listen, I thought I was helping a nice little boy who didn't get a pin.
Yeah.
And
in his
by
defense,
the time I
he's
realized
an autistic adult.
Yeah, I also initially thought he was just like an autistic 18-year-old who just chose the shirt and wanted the pin too and was like trying to get both.
Yeah, no, totally what I thought.
And it was like, oh, pick from my bag of pins. And at that moment, I was like, you just take that pin bag and run, and he would never be able to touch you.
Definitely, we would have been faster than most people there.
I mean, I was clocking exits at all points in time.
Aside from the lighting in this panel, because like it started off, they put the lights down, it was fine. We could see
we could
see
the
them,
spotlight,
and then they put like audience like spotlights on that they kept on through the whole show. That was like literally just searing into my eyeballs. I had to.
It was the SpongeBob meme of my eyes.
I had to put sunglasses on in a dark auditorium in order to survive that panel. But besides that, this was probably like my next top one of my is in my
it was
top
the most
3.
like it was the biggest show, like definitely the main stage for a reason.
But it was just cool to hear from all the devs, and I
don't remember his name, but the tall, skinny one who kept mouthing up,
Igor. He had some of the best. He had some of the best.
Igor had
best
opinions
points
that the other devs didn't want him to say. It felt like.
And so like I was gonna say like I'm familiar with Gabriel Ematangelo, the game director, and Powell Sasko. They're like some of the more prominent voices and faces for the game development. But like I was gonna say that Igor, I won't try to pronounce his last name. Sarzinski, I guess.
Igor Polish last name.
Yeah. He had some of the coolest like
it's
things
spelled
to say,
Zarzinski, but it's pronounced Jinsky.
Yeah. He had some of the most interesting opinions and anecdotes, and
it felt like at points in time they were like, cut his mic, don't let Igor speak anymore.
But they like, it was they offered some interesting insights into their direction. They did kind of tiptoe around the rough launch that rough, that's being generous as well, the terrible launch of the original game, when talking about it.
But they weren't there to talk about the original game.
That is true. That's what I was gonna say. That's true. They were there to talk about Phantom Liberty, but they did talk about the full game. That isn't what they just talked about, right? But it was cool to see like they had this interest. One of the most interesting points that I was like, well, first off, they seem like they're very much against the current trends in the industry of of the attrition in their employee base. There's like, we need to keep the the kind of like the pipeline of development going so that juniors can become specialists and specialists can become leads and all that, and to maintain the institutional knowledge and stuff that we build up over time, that like they care a lot about their people, right? And because we know this from the original launch, that the push to launch it in such a bad state came from executives, right? It came from the CEO and CFO and the C-suite people, not the game directors. That they're very much trying to defend and protect their people. Because like one of the kind of like the saddest things that you learned about was like, because of COVID, because of the shitty launch of the original, is like that those younger people like never got their moment of catharsis and celebration that comes with shipping a game, in particular
Yep.
shipping a successful game.
Yeah, because they shipped a failure, quote unquote,
And they did it
didn't get
they did it in the midst of COVID, when everybody is
isolated in a way
isolated in a way they couldn't have, like just the simple things of like couldn't have like a release party type of thing. But how that had to be basically delayed to the release of Phantom Liberty.
And one thing about like that group that was up there, and to your point about their retention of their employees in that studio, and I'm gonna say this, and I don't mean it
There
in
have
the
been
way that
there were series of layoffs at CD
Yes.
Projekt Red, but they like have are in the process, I think, of unionizing because of it.
but my point was like I'll say it this way, they seemed like a cohesive group, that they worked well together, they could collaborate together, they knew each other's strengths and weaknesses. I originally wanted to say they seemed like a family, but that is like that negative connotation in employment, but like they
we
truly
work like a family.
seemed, yeah, like they had a bond
And
that looked like it came through in the panel and came through in the product that they created.
yeah, they felt genuine, I think.
Yeah.
Is
Yep.
like
That's a good
that
one,
story
too.
in particular, Ben, is that was essentially the most they really talked about the failure of the launch initially, and it did feel like genuinely also upset with how things went down.
Right. I mean, like, you can't not think that all these people who put so many years and effort into making this game to have it released in such a state, like
Yeah.
they're not happy with that. No way.
No.
Like that's terrible.
The
Yeah,
only part of the panel I want to talk about is the host and how
Yeah.
annoyed I was that it was blessing Adeoye Jr. from Kind of
Dude,
Funny.
yeah, a bunch of the Kind of Funny people like apparently hosted a bunch of different panels, including they had some of their own panels, but like they like got split up and like did a bunch of hosting duty. And I'm like, what the fuck? Why them?
He
Because I found them neither funny nor entertaining.
Yeah.
no cringy in a not funny way is kind of my thought process.
Says
But,
cringy joke, laughs really hard into the microphone and looks into the audience to make sure that they also start laughing.
or just like acting like being the whole thing around letting them all use swear words was just like,
Yeah, that
come
was
on,
really
we're
cringe.
adults and we're talking about cyberpunk.
Yeah, that was very cringe.
It even says it in the panel thing here, 17 and up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This shit ain't for kids. But yeah, for real. But it's like, we're doing cyberpunk here. Come on, what do you expect?
What the French toast?
What the fudge?
These mother liquors.
Liquor.
No,
You
it's
land liquor.
No, it's muckaluckas.
Oh yeah, yeah,
That was Pineapple Express.
Yeah.
You muckalukka.
I think I'm pretty sure in Snakes on a Plane it was monkey lovin'.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Coming out of Samuel's mouth.
Yes, no, I'm pretty sure that's the safe for TV version.
America.
Yeah, so that was, I think, the last panel we went to, because on Sunday, the only panel that any of us were interested in was one of the last ones from the whole day, and none of us were staying.
No one was
were
staying until
that late.
4:30.
in which would have meant staying till 5:30 to then another 30 minutes basically to get back to the hotel and all that. None of us were doing that, so we missed out on that one. We just went and bought some more shit on Sunday and did another round. Yeah, before we wrap up here, because we've gone a little bit long, any other highlights, or I guess high or low lights from the whole experience, like any other games that we played?
Kingsfield.
Oh,
I played a cat Souls-like game.
yeah, that was a highlight.
That has some promise, I think. So it's called
The jump
Crystalla.
animation had me so far out on that game.
No, there's some serious hardcore jank that needs
yeah.
to be ironed out there. But I don't know. I think they've potentially got something interesting. That's worth.
It could be the
keeping
next
an eye
Lies
on.
of P.
No, in this state, no. But
I don't think anything there qualifies as the quote unquote next Lies of P from what I saw. Deathbound felt okay. I couldn't get the parry to work whatsoever.
Yeah, so that one was
So-
an interesting party-based Souls-like.
My
Switching
biggest
characters at whim.
my biggest gripe was with the wooden dice boxes that the vendors had, because I thought I was gonna get a I didn't buy one because I wanted a handcrafted, like
Bespoke.
custom.
Oh, at
Yeah,
Wormwood?
like cool. No, not at Wormwood, because Wormwood I'm upset because they only had the cards they were displaying as like it was like a just like a regular deck of cards, but had really cool designs, and they were only in preset or pre-order. But I'm talking about like I just wanted a dice box from like any of the like craft vendors.
Oh, from like Dodeca Donuts.
No, but yes, but like a wooden one from like any of the vendors.
Yeah.
And I thought it would be, they all have like engravings on top, but it's just they're all mass produced. Every booth had the same one. It's laser engraved. It's not a fucking like handmade box that someone put together and sanded. So I didn't buy one, and I was very upset because I wanted one.
Yeah, Matt spent $200 on Kingsfield in box.
With all documentation, you forget the most important part of that.
Uh-huh.
It's still in its plastic container. I haven't removed it.
Oh yeah, you're gonna wait for that for a while.
Forever.
Only
and
when you go to
ever
play
and
it.
ever.
Yeah, that was cool.
That
All right.
that was definitely my piece de resistance, but I was
Uh-huh.
happy with my Parasite Eve copy,
Yeah, that's cool. That was cool.
which has a demo disc that includes Final Fantasy VIII, Secret of Mana, Legend of Dragoon, and one more Square JRPG from the
Damn.
time.
They were cooking back then, for real. All right. Before I have a mic situation here, I'm gonna have to wrap it up. But it's been fun. I enjoyed the trip. I think we learned some
Me
things
too.
about potentially doing it again.
And one of the things that
learn from
helps for
experience.
doing it again is if it's in May next year, that alleviates some of the temperature issues related to.
Still could have rain though.
Yeah, rain is fine. I'm just more saying like when it's 30 degrees and the wind is gusting at the rate of 1,000 miles per hour, and you're walking face down into it because you can't look up because your eyes are watering and it's freezing to your eyelashes.
Yeah, not the most pleasant. But yeah, that was our coverage of PAX. We enjoyed it. Probably try to go again in the future. Maybe do some more convention type stuff as well if we can swing
Print
it.
out our own media badges.
Yeah. But till then, you can follow us on twitch.tv/campaign comrades. You find out, upcoming stuff about the pod on all the socials and all that. And yeah, we'll be keeping at it. We will see you all in the future. All right, folks. Boys, I'll talk to you later.
Bye bye.